In this video, we're going to be explaining the whole Dream SMP from start to finish. I have made this video before, but it's really outdated now, so I thought why not start the new year by explaining everything that happened in the previous year. Now if you're going to enjoy this video, please hit that subscribe button and then drop a like, but for now, just enjoy the video. The first war on the Dream SMP is titled the Disc Saga. This started because Ponk decided to prank Sapnap by messing up his house. In return, Sapnap burnt Ponk's treehouse down, and this started a war between them. Then Alyssa joined in on the war and joined Ponk's side to go against Sapnap, which then caused Tommy Innit to join the server and help Sapnap out, which isn't really something we see often anymore. Because at the start of the server, Dream really didn't like fighting, so he went to Tommy's house and basically stole his discs, which is why it's called the Disc Saga. This was in an attempt to basically stop people from fighting and led Tommy to stop fighting, because now, instead of helping Sapnap out, all Tommy wanted was his discs back. Now Dream wouldn't give him the discs back unless he got a netherite chestplate off of Tommy, and Tommy really didn't want to give it to him, so he tried to negotiate with other items such as many diamonds, but in the end he handed over the netherite chestplate and all was resolved. But this warned Tommy to basically hide all of his discs, because at any point somebody could walk into his house and steal all of them, and that would cause another war. Who knew that this first war would cause so many issues on the server, even leading to the most recent events? And this leads us on to the next war titled Dream SMP vs MANBERG. This started off with Wilbur joining the Dream SMP server and actually teaming up with Tommy to create a drug empire. This empire will be later named MANBERG and contained only Europeans because the server at the time was dominated by Americans. They told Dream about this plan, and Wilbur drafted a formal declaration of independence to basically make MANBERG a real thing and to basically split off from the Dream SMP land. Dream really didn't like this, so he replied with his own declaration, which was a declaration of war, causing everything to go down. This war went on for a good while and really destroyed MANBERG's land. And just as they thought they progressed towards victory, Eric betrayed them and told them it was never meant to be. Wilbur suggested to Dream to create a peace between the two empires, but Dream didn't really care and told them to hold white flags and surrender. Wilbur literally hated this and told MANBERG to stand their ground and fight back. Until MANBERG met up with Dream and George, and Dream lighted a single piece of TNT on MANBERG ground. Obviously nobody was thinking too much of this at the time because it's just one TNT, but little did they know Eric put a dozen of TNT blocks underneath MANBERG's ground, so when the one TNT exploded, it caused a chain reaction. And this was the first time that MANBERG was exploded. All hope was lost for MANBERG, so Tommy challenged Dream to a duel in which if Tommy won, MANBERG would be granted independence, but if Dream won, MANBERG would rejoin the Dream SMP land and Tommy would give up his Melahite disc. Sadly, Tommy lost this duel but chose to give up both of his discs in return for independence. And Dream agreed, which caused this war to end. The next war was titled the Railway Skirmish, where Tommy was riding on his minecart and collides with Dream, killing him. Because Dream died, he drops all of his items, and this accidentally gave them to Tommy. Tommy then realized that he could use this to his advantage to gain back both of the discs that he had lost in the previous war. Now, and amongst the items that Dream had lost was his incredibly overpowered sword, which everybody thought had just despawned. But Tommy had actually hidden this as he knew he could use it for leverage at a later date. Now at this point, Skeppy had one disc and Dream had the other, so for this plan to work, he had to trade with both of them. But Skeppy denied all trades, and Dream just basically wanted to fight Tommy. In the end though, Tommy managed to gain back one of his discs, bringing the end of the Railway Skirmish. The next war was titled the Pet War, and this contained Sapnap going around MANBERG killing basically every member's pets. Yeah, it's kinda messed up. The main pet that was murdered was Nikki and Fundy's fox named Fungi, and he also took Nikki's tropical fish out of her home. Now because of all of this, Nikki really wanted revenge, and so she got Tommy on her side and they went to Sapnap's house to grief it. And when going into their house, they found out that Sapnap's beloved fish were just swimming around, so they took them and used them for leverage at a later date. After all of this happens, Sapnap logs in and blows up Fungi the Fox's grave, which is a real disrespect, and because of this, Fundy challenged Sapnap to a 1v1 to resolve everything. If Sapnap won, he would get his fish back, and Fundy would be forced to accept defeat and move on. But if Fundy won, he keeps Sapnap's fish and gets all of the items that he had lost back, and also Sapnap would have to leave MANBERG. After multiple rounds of the duel, Sapnap ended up winning and gained back all of his pets, but as he felt bad for Fundy and Nikki, he returned Nikki's tropical fish, and this ended the pet war. The next event was named Swag 2020 vs Pog 2020. This event was to determine who would be the president for MANBERG. Wilbur and Tommy had the idea to create a party named Pog 2020, with the hopes of getting all the votes and be classed as the president and vice president. And this would mean no one could take over, as they would have to take down the government. They explained the plan to Quackity, and because of this, Quackity chose to run against them with a party named Swag 2020. Now during the day they announced all the parties and what they would do for the country. Fundy and Nikki created a party named Coconut 2020 to run against the others. And during Pog 2020's endorsement campaign, they announced they have Jay Schlatt on their side. And he finally joins the Dream SMP after being banned a while back. But instead of endorsing Pog 2020 like the plan was, Jay Schlatt creates his own party named Schlatt 2020 and creates a deal with Quackity where if both of them lose, they would join their votes together in the hopes of winning the election. And once the votes came in, Pog 2020 was in the lead until Schlatt and Quackity joined together and ended up winning. And this basically led everyone to be super confused, as Schlatt had just now become the leader of MANBERG after being banned on the SMP for ages, and also his first thing they did as the leader was banish Tommy and Wilbur from MANBERG, and they went on to create a place named Pogtopia. Next was the Battle of the Lake. This started because Sapnap tried to kidnap Tommy's pet cow named Henry, and during the kidnapping he accidentally kills Henry. This causes Tommy to become super mad, and he goes to Dream, Nikki, Bad Boy Halo and Skeppy to get them all on his side and to get revenge on Sapnap. Their first plan is to lava cast the entire Eiffel Tower, which was built by Carl for Carl and Sapnap's honeymoon. During this plan though, they realise they don't really want to take the blame for it, and they end up framing Bad Boy Halo for destroying the tower. And then Sapnap logs onto the server and starts a fight with Tommy. And after Bad Boy Halo and Skeppy had been framed, they chose to change sides and fight alongside with Sapnap. Now this fight went on for a good while, but later on in the fight though, TECHNOBLADE logs on to fight alongside with Tommy and Dream, making everything just, you know, super unfair. And obviously they end up killing everyone, resulting in them winning the war, and obviously resulting in the end of the war. Next was the MANBERG Festival, which was made to celebrate democracy and just MANBERG. During the festival, Wilbur planned to blow up the whole of MANBERG, and this would have happened during Tubbo's speech. But once Tubbo had gone on stage, Schlatt interrupts him and gets TECHNOBLADE on the stage too to publicly execute him. Schlatt had known about Tubbo being a spy for Tommy and Wilbur for a very long time, and this was basically his payback. Wilbur gets super worried about Tubbo's life, so he goes to find the button to blow everything up, just to realise that the room he had made had disappeared. TECHNOBLADE goes through with the execution, but accidentally kills Quackity and Schlatt as well, and then TECHNOBLADE turns around and kills everybody at the festival too. Yeah, he's a crazy guy. Now the next war is probably the biggest on the Dream SMP, and it's named MANBERG vs Pogtopia. Everyone in Pogtopia had gathered a bunch of items leading up to this point. The end goal was to take out Jay Schlatt and claim back their land. The war started with Dream taking away Eric's kingship and making George the king of the SMP, and also Wilbur told everyone that he had planted 11 stacks of TNT under MANBERG, so if anything goes wrong, it all goes up into flames. Everyone meets up and Techno leads them into a secret base where he has been gathering items for the war, and now they are all geared up, they marched into MANBERG and start fighting. And after a good while of fighting, Pogtopia is in the lead, and Dream asks Wilbur if they can talk. Dream explains that Schlatt is an idiot and that he hasn't really done anything for the war, so they surrender, leading to Pogtopia winning this war. Everyone in MANBERG goes to find Schlatt, who is in a really rough state, and they watch him basically have a heart attack and die. Now Pogtopia had gained MANBERG back, and Wilbur tells everyone that he no longer wants to be the president, so he elects Tubbo to take his space. And whilst everyone is celebrating, Wilbur goes around back into a room where the button is that blows everything up. He stands there looking at the button, debating on whether to push it, and then Philza joins the server for the first time in the attempts to convince him to step away, but it doesn't work, and Wilbur destroys MANBERG and Phil takes Wilbur's life. But this isn't it. TECHNOBLADE then goes on and spawns 2 withers in MANBERG. As he has always said, he hates governments, and MANBERG had just destroyed one, only to go and create another. Now after a while of fighting back against the withers, everyone takes a look at what used to be MANBERG, and everything is just blown up, there's a massive crater and there's nothing left. So now that Tubbo is president, he has to rebuild. Next is Tommy's exiling. This all starts as Tommy and Rambo meet up on the SMP, and Tommy tells Rambo about his idea idea of going to George's new house that he had built during the previous war and basically taking a few of the items that he has there and griefing the house. After they had done that, George finds out about it and takes them to court, where Tommy ends up admitting to the crime, but he sticks up for Rambo and says that he wasn't really involved in the whole thing. Tommy is then put on probation for his crimes, but Dream doesn't think that that is enough and says that Tommy has to be exiled or there will be bigger consequences. Dream proceeds to build big obsidian walls around MANBERG, which get taller until Tommy is gone. Now during this, Tubbo had actually tweeted out a poll with two options: exile Tommy or don't exile Tommy, and the majority of the votes went to exiling him. But in the end, Tubbo has the main say in what happens, and in a desperate attempt to stop being exiled, Tommy suggests the idea of getting Techno on their side and fighting back against Dream. And although Fundy and Quackity agreed with this plan, Tubbo went ahead and betrayed Tommy by exiling him. Now after this had happened, Quackity chose to show Tubbo and Fundy a secret room that he had made. The whole room was dedicated to killing Techno, and in there they create a group named the Butcher Army, which leads us on to one of the most recent events and probably one of the last events of 2020, TECHNOBLADE'S execution. Now because no one in the Butcher Army knows where TECHNOBLADE lives, they go around to Phil's house and find a compass which leads them directly to his house. And by the way, the Butcher Army consists of Fundy, Quackity, Tubbo and Ranbu. They all arrive at Techno's base and tell him that he has to go with them back to MANBERG so they can basically talk, and that's where they're going to execute him. TECHNOBLADE obviously doesn't like this, so he throws a few potions down and fights against the army. But during this little battle, TECHNOBLADE forgets about Quackity, who had walked off and stolen Techno's horse. Quackity threatens to kill the horse if TECHNOBLADE doesn't go with them to MANBERG, so Techno surrenders and is put into a cage where there is an anvil really high above him. This anvil will be then dropped onto TECHNOBLADE's head, taking his life. And just as they are talking to Techno, Punz comes out of nowhere and places a ton of TNT as a distraction. But it doesn't work, and the anvil falls right onto Techno, who actually had a totem of undying, saving his life, and he runs away. Everyone in MANBERG is super confused on what had just happened, and Quackity gets pretty angry, so he follows the way that Techno went and has a duel with him in a cave. Although Quackity lost this duel and the whole execution was a fail, they go back into the secret room and discuss about turning onto Dream next, due to Dream actually teaming up with TECHNOBLADE and giving him the totem of undying and telling Punz to distract everyone. The Butcher Army then create a plan to make a festival designed to kill Dream, just like J-Schlatt had done to Tubbo, basically repeating history. And that is the ending of the execution of TECHNOBLADE. There are so many subplots like the alien egg and things I didn't really talk about, like Tommy and Techno teaming up against Dream, the plans for future events and things like that. So if you really want to keep up to date with everything on the Dream SMP, you really need to subscribe to the channel. We talk about everything here, including theories and things like that, so make sure you are subscribed and enjoy the rest of your day.